Well, welcome back, TAM listeners, all of you in Martian County. It's another Sunday morning and a time for us to take a look at what's gone on over the past week right here in our own backyard. So hang on, strap yourself in as we take another journey down the rabbit hole. We'd like to start this week by going over a definition of a word, and that word is revenge. We'd like to define that word for you, and you'll see why in a second. See, Webster defines revenge as, I quote, an act or instance of retaliating in order to get even. Yeah, it makes sense. I think we all know this. So why is this important? Mr. Producer, roll the tape, please.
Well, I just wanted to say that a few months ago, or it was a year ago, you, Madam Mayor, were trying to take me off of that board, which congratulations. You're showing revenge. And
Excuse me, that's very inappropriate.
and I just wanted to ask if I could use the FMIT apply. There's no guarantee I'll make it, but just apply. Thank you.
Okay, let me clarify. Those are very inappropriate in a professional setting. I'm not taking you off anything. We're moving around like 2 years ago that you were able to do, and I did not try a year ago to do anything.
Oh yes, you did.
Okay, we're not getting into it.
Madam
We're
Mayor,
not get into
yes,
it. No.
when I walked out of the meeting.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Just so that the public can understand. Please go watch. You'll see.
Yes, you will. Is there any?
Now, what is Janet talking about? Well, as it turns out, the mayor recently made board assignments. Mayor Gibbs Thomas recently made board assignments that Miss Janet did not like. The mayor, in an effort to rotate the seats on outside boards so members could increase their depth of knowledge and not get bogged down in one stream of advocacy, well, she appointed Janet to the local Indiantown Chamber of Commerce, a seat that the good mayor sat on herself. And she gave her current assignment, Janet's that is, to Angelina Perez, the newest member on the board, which could use a lot of education and learn some of the advocacy methods that Janet has had the past year to learn. The mayor also removed Guyton, weekend at Bernie Stone's, who has been talking a little bit more. I guess now he understands he needs to open his mouth. Anyway, she removed him from the Metropolitan Planning Organization and appointed Councilman Carmine DePaulo. Now, as it turns out, Janet's refused to take the chamber seat, citing reasons of scheduling conflicts, while she takes a multi-day trip. That's right, a multi-day trip to tour Europe. And recently just returned from a week-long, all-expense, taxpayer-paid trip with 3 other council members for a seminar series designed to lavish the egos of its members. But the local chamber seat was just not enough for her. She had to decline it. What is it that she hates about the chamber so badly? Her aversion to free market and capitalist organizations is striking. Anyway, we'd like to remind the good councilwoman that in order for revenge to have taken place, there had to be a precursor, like in the definition, an act or instance of retaliating in order to get even. So I guess she's openly admitting that she removed Miss Gibbs Thomas sometime back when she was mayor from a prominent position she held to be spiteful. Therefore, she's accusing the mayor of retaliation. Janet. Careful the words you use because they do have meaning. Moving on. Hometown news. Now, this is the pot calling the kettle black. We want to take a moment to applaud the hometown news and again ask, where the heck is T.C. Palm? Crickets! Well, at least one reporter was on the ball and covered the village council meeting with speed and somewhat in-depth look at the outcomes of one of the discussion items. At least it was in-depth compared to the brushstroke given by some and complete lack of coverage by most, if not all, major news organizations. The article we're talking about is titled Indiantown Backtracks on PZAB Requirement. It's written by Donald, help me out here, Donald, what is your last name? Rodriguez? We're going to say Rodriguez. Written by Donald Rodriguez, and we'll be sure to include a link to the story so you can review the full context and information he presented. Sorry if I murdered the name there, Donald. Thank you for the effort. We appreciate it, and I hope you keep it up and we can meet soon. The article was published October 13th, 2022, and I want to read a few things from it for your edification. It's concerning a previous vote to modify the PZA board makeup and operation. That happened a couple weeks back, 3 weeks back. Anyway, going into the article, it stated, Village Manager Howard Brown briefly discussed the earlier decision, emphasizing that recently elected Seat 4 Councilwoman Angelina Perez had requested the reconsideration of the item. So it was voted on before and now being reconsidered. The article goes on to say, and it quotes Howard, obviously it was direction to staff to bring back an ordinance that we would send to the planning board and back to the village for approval, he said. During that time between our last meeting and now, Councilmember Perez wished to further discuss these qualifications. Councilwoman Perez, who defeated incumbent Jackie Gary Clark August 23rd for Seat 4 position during the August primary election, based her request on feeling overwhelmed during her first official meeting. She went on to say, and we quote from the article, you know, you have to learn the process and do your homework, she said. After the last council meeting, I rewound the council meeting, and from what I understood, I didn't understand the verbiage that Councilman Guyton Stone had presented. I realized later I was wrong when trying to bring up who I would want to appoint to this important board. I found it very hard to find people who actually live within the village boundaries who have the background and experience needed to make good decisions for the PCA board. While agreeing with Councilwoman Perez, the article goes on to say, Perez's motion, rather, for the most part, Councilman DePaulo did not want to preclude Indiantown business owners from the board just because they don't live within the village boundaries. That seems like a good idea to us. I think you should be a resident or a business owner, he insisted. Going on from the article, it says you have skin in the game, you employ people, and more often than not, you're supporting the community. If you live or have a business in the village, you should be able to be on that board. Again, we will post the full link to the story on TAM. Please take the time when you're finished listening to this report. You got to listen to the end because there's more to come, to visit the site and see the entire article. Good job, Donald. Janet also chimed in, and we're off the topic of hometown news now, and I want to move on a little bit and give you some of her chiming in on this with a whopper of a quote that she made. She actually quoted, the decision was made, and that's what should be taken, she said. Now listen to this accusation she made. We find the irony to be very telling, given her collaboration with Howard, Anthony, and the rest of the previous crew. Anyway, here you go. Listen to this. She said, and we quote, is the council breaking the Sunshine Law? Are they convincing someone to change their decision because they didn't like it? That's not right. Ah, is that so, Janet? What we found interesting is that current PZA board member Renita Pressler concurred with Janet, according to the Hometown News article. Oh, really, Miss Pressler? You think there were Sunshine Law violations? That's interesting. Watch this exchange from the last regular meeting that Althea Jackson got dressed down by the council on her decision to recommend that residents not be able to have a fence on their property if there is no home there. What? Is this the ethic you pretend to support, Miss Pressler? All for thee, but none for me, I suppose? It fits with the leftist agenda that's very apparent amongst staff and some council in Indiantown, and I guess some PZAB members, too. So while it's not a sunshine violation, we find it interesting to see Miss Pressler taking cues from staff, Althea, on how to go against council during this discussion about the fence, because their ideas are being torn to shreds by the council. Let's take a quick look at the video of Althea and Pressler. You can listen to Pressler drone on later about her property value dropping because a person has a fence and weeds might grow. Give me a break. Roll the clip, please.
And I've been trying to get a survey team out there because when they redid the road, they removed the little thing in the road. They never put a thing back down there when they did survey it once before. So I don't even know where the property ends at. So now I gotta go out and pay for a survey team to come back out. Nobody wanted to survey any in town anymore.
Amazing. Keep in mind, this is just prior to Pressler's turn at the podium for public speaking on this issue. She wants to make the argument that no rights have been taken away from anyone, so Althea urges her to ask the village attorney to be the arbiter on that fact. They had been taken away, and this is very well articulated by the mayor. She demonstrated again how staff has worked with Howard, the previous cabal, and other staff members to strip citizens of their rights. See, Althea, a senior staffer and former collaborator from Opelika with Howard Brown, has been known for writing scripts. That's right, scripts, things for the PZA board members to say when their turn came up. We've had conversations with more than one member who has described her manipulation of the process to help benefit staff's position. See, she's not neutral in any of this. She has a good master and mentor to learn from. Howard Brown. Video of Pressler and the full exchange are available on the village website, and we urge you to get familiar with the replay site. It's better than a CBS comedy on Thursday nights and even challenges some of the drama series on the lamestream media. Besides, it'll keep you up to date on what changes are happening in the community without rotting your brain on television and garbage propaganda. It seems, though, that Ms. Hernandez in the last meeting was zooming in from Italy. Yeah, the country in Europe at that same meeting last week. She is on a religious pilgrimage, we're told, with the local gateway from Guatemala in Indian Town, the Catholic Church. Now, last time I checked, the Whirlwind European tour she's taking, pilgrimage in support of Vatican II costs a pretty penny. Seems her pockets are getting deeper these days, or there was a generous donor who wanted to make sure she could make this life-changing journey across the pond, and she wants to claim sunshine law violations. Now, that's the pot calling the kettle black. Can you say Robert Burns, Miss Hernandez? All of this shows why the village voters made the changes they did. It shows, too, that there needs to be a change in the committee policy. It demonstrates why they need to bring back a number of the previous disbanded resident boards and reinstate the seats for residents on other boards like the LPA. New crew, new day. Let's see what happens. And I will point out, too, the meetings have taken a decisive turn in terms of public participation. Several people spoke at the last meeting concerning their rights, and they did have a very good job of putting the council in their place and reminding them who the council actually works for. You're making a difference, folks. Keep up the good work, and remember, there's more of us than there are of them, so stay informed, stay engaged, and you will make a big difference. All right, moving on. Let's take a look at the Martin County Commission's ongoing saga as it relates to the Pet Store Ban. The upcoming ACOBB meeting is this Wednesday, the 19th at 4 p.m. It'll be held at the Blake Library. TAM will have watchdogs there, no pun intended, primarily to make sure that misinformation and outright lies like the ones told by Mrs. Campini, who's the wife of former Stewart Councilman Tom Campini, made during her remarks to we're still stuck on the village, aren't we? The Martin County Commission. Remember, too, that back in 2018, Stewart City Commissioner Tom Campini resigned amid accusations that he's a bully and has threatened city manager David Ross. During a conversation, Ross said he felt threatened by Campini. Ross had told Campini to not go to a staff meeting with Costco because that would have been a violation of the Commissioner Code of Conduct. Campini allegedly went on an expletive-filled tirade. He said he would come after Ross if he found out another commissioner was attending the meetings. Wow. Campini did not deny the conversation and said that Ross misunderstood the tone of his comments, probably a lot like I'm misunderstood, right? Campini added that Ross was, quote, too sensitive to ever be an effective city manager. Campini said he's stepping down as commissioner to save the taxpayers from having to pay a $10,000 fine or $10,000 rather, not a fine, for an investigation. Wow. This is the latest in a long line of embarrassing controversies for the Stewart City Commission. It seems like it kind of runs in the family too, because Mrs. Campini, boy, she told some whoppers, and we want to make sure they don't happen. That disinformation about breeders and the issues of pet stores is not conflated with the self-serving gray data that was also provided by the National Humane Society, an organization that in and of itself should be investigating for misleading philanthropic actions that they have taken in the past. And there's a list of them. We'll put more links below and you can go find out for yourself. Anyway, I recently had an opportunity to once again host the Casey Ingram Show last Wednesday, and I spoke with Amy Pritchett. For those of you that are new to TAM, Casey is a TAM contributor and a local talk show host in Martin County. You can find her shows every Wednesday at 10 a.m. live on her Facebook page and live on WSTU 1450 a.m. Her replays are on her YouTube channel as well. Now, I want to share a moment of the last show that I did with Amy Pritchett, who is one of the newest incoming school board members here in Martin County. She'll take her seat coming up here in November. Roll the tape, please.
Government gets in the way of the free market system, like this wonderful recent pet store manifestation that came down. This is crazy.
You know, when they had nothing left in the tank, it's now you're charging too much to buy the puppy.
Oh, it's
that
crazy.
to me was singularly ridiculous.
Did they ever? I wonder if they ever had a mayor's credit card. I mean, I remember
Bayer's credit card,
Dillard's.
appliances. Are we going to regulate everybody's financial charges now?
Yeah, we're going to. It's called a central bank digital currency, and it's right around the corner. Expected, I would think, by the end of the year.
It
if not the
shocked
beginning,
me.
but-
It just shocked me that
Yeah.
okay, we spent it all on this and it isn't palatable. Let's accuse them of being financially inept.
Well, part of that, there's two topics I want to jump on this real quick. One of them is public-private partnerships. And here's an example of why a public-private partnership with government does not work. Public being the government, private being the free enterprise system, and a partnership to where the two join to form an authoritative outcome. The county pays over $1 million plus a year to the Humane Society. Now, Humane Society, don't get bristled up. We're not coming after all the great volunteers.
I
like
work there.
you
I'm a
that
volunteer. I love that place.
I have rescued animals from there myself.
Me too.
Look, it's not the Humane Society. It is the position the Humane Society has put themselves in this public-private partnership. Then they get $1 million a year. Then they step forward. They go to the commission and they say, "Here's something we want you to deal with." Man, you want to talk about a moral and ethical dilemma. That's it right there. And the outcome of the decision for the commission to do what they did to actually, now the county attorney will say, we didn't actually ban a retail sector. We gave them the opportunity to reinvent their business.
Right.
Give me a frickin' break.
Right.
Reinvent their business.
I'd like to run a bar, but we can't serve any liquor.
Yeah, we're just going to have pretty glasses and umbrellas, and hopefully people will come in and buy our stuff.
And you'll
right?
pretend you're drinking.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Well, the other fallout from this that took place is that you look at the city of Stewart, okay? The city of Stewart, by law, by state law, has to have an animal control policy and the ability
Right.
to control stray animals. Okay, I get it. We don't want a lot of feral animals on the street. So what did they do? They adopted the county's code and ordinance and they codified it into their own law. So what you did in Stewart, okay, was you gave away the people's voice in Stewart that voted for you
Yes.
to tell them what needed to be done. You gave that voice away to the county, and when the county changed it, the city of Stewart, in order to say, well, if you want to stay in our boundaries, we're going to grandfather you in. They couldn't, because they would have to codify and fund their own. So you've got this public-private partnership with business that's getting taxpayer money, and now you get like 17 different states in the union right now that are that have codified California's energy policies.
Right.
When California says we have to jump, 17 states now have had the voters' rights taken away from them. So this stuff does cascade. Grants, please.
Now, the falsehoods by the Humane Society and their very apparent conflict of interest exemplifies the problem with public-private partnerships, and we all should be concerned. Our ability to function as a free market county are being taken away one cut at a time. What Amy was alluding to were the comments made by one of the commissioners that they may want to take financing. That's right, financing ability away from the pet stores if they're to remain operational. Really? Just leave them alone. Enough with the overreach. Ms. Pritchett and I also spoke about the school board, and one of the items that we find interesting is the fact that there will be a large policy review discussion upcoming as the new board takes their seats in November. Now, in our opinion, this is an excellent opportunity for the school board to form a temporary parent and citizen review committee to assist in this process. Seeing as it affects the students, staff, and the taxpayers, it'd seem only logical. And it would give more insight and take away less time from those board members' overwhelming duties as a school board member. So give it some thought, school board. Let's put a temporary committee together. Let's take a look at what's going on within the school board and see if there's anything that needs to be changed, strengthened, or actually added to. So anyway, folks, thanks for taking this journey down the rabbit hole with us. To keep up to date, make sure that you click the follow here button right on this page. And, hit the like button and leave us your comments too. And if you'd like to be a TAM contributor, if you think you've got something to add or you just want to get something off your mind, editor at talkaboutmartin.com, and we'll put your words out there for all of Marshall County to take a look at. So for this week, our journey's over. Thanks again. Enough said. Nomo out.